name is Syeda Rumana Mehdi, and I'm a second year PhD student in the Anthropology program and here at BU. I'm in the sociocultural track. So BU has 3 tracks in anthropology, and I'm in the sociocultural. So I'm working mainly on mourning rituals amongst Shia women. So I've been observing Pakistani Shia women in Karachi over the summer, and then I also accompanied some women on pilgrimage in Iraq this last summer on the 10th of Muharram. So I'm mainly looking at Freud's Mourning and Melancholia article, and in that, like, Freud differentiates between mourning and melancholia. So mourning is conscious loss with fixed timing and a fixed cycle, but melancholia is when you get stuck. So when you haven't done mourning right, and then mourning has crept into the unconsciousness, that's melancholia. So you have a sense of loss, but you don't really understand what you have lost, and I think that framework really explains what Shia Muslims go through. The idea of living with the death of Imam Hussein and the injustice of his death. So I'm really interested in what that does. And as Butler has built up on that and argued that melancholia opens a creative space for political agency and for a sense of community. So that's the framework that I'm going off of with regards to my research on pilgrimage. Like, what does pilgrimage as a melancholic space do to the lives of Pakistani Shia women? So I am a practicing Shia myself, but last summer was my first trip ever to Iraq, and I think the intensity of the emotions and then the scale of the rituals that I experienced. There were like 6.5 million people in Karbala on the 10th of Muharram, and I was one of them, and it was like, it wasn't even like a convenient place, right? It was 50 degrees Celsius. It was obviously very hot and with like water and food, and there were so many people, and I think what really touched me was the emotions that people had come from all around the world. And it was this like almost tension that we're all Shias and we're all here to mourn Imam Hussein, but then we were also like Pakistanis, Indians, and like upper middle class, elite, lower middle class. So I was very interested in this tension and what that's doing in that space. And then this semester I've been taking the Ritual, Myth and Rite class offered by Dr. Rob Weller and Dr. Adam Seligman. And I really enjoy their work on ritual because they argue that ritual creates this subjunctive space, so like a space of an as if, where like all kinds of things can happen. And I think that really speaks to the experience that I had and what I observed with my interlocutors in Karbala this past summer. When you have a space of as if, like, there's a lot that can happen, and I think coping with loss is only just one of them, which is also again tied to lots of interesting things like nationalism and internationalism being one of them. So my recent article was published, I believe, in 2022 for Himal South Asian magazine, which is called Ghar Ki Shadi of Family Pressure, Maulvis and Nikah-Nama. So the title is in Urdu, but it's based off of my research on the Islamic legal marriage contract in Pakistan. So I looked at the Constitution of Pakistan, I looked at the Quranic verses that talk about women's financial rights at the time of marriage, and then I looked at what was actually happening when Pakistani Muslim women were signing their marriage contracts. So what was happening was that their clauses were being cancelled. So when Pakistani Muslim women entered into marriage, they didn't have the right to put conditions in their contract, they didn't have the right to initiate divorce, which are rights given to them by the Quran and by the Constitution of Pakistan. So I was looking at why this practice was taking place and why was it still socially acceptable. So I did an ethnographic study of those things. It's been a very interesting experience being a Shia and also being an anthropologist. So it's obviously been very hard to distance myself. One advice that my committee gave me was like, behave like a believer but don't write like a believer. And I think that's been the hardest thing, and I think I'm slowly getting better at it. But that's also like the most exciting thing for me. It's just like doing things as a Shia, but then also observing things as an anthropologist, and then trying to find the balance between bringing the two together. So I signed up for the CURA newsletter very early on when I moved to Boston like a year and a half ago. Because I looked it up and I found out it was the oldest and most intersectional center for religion and global affairs. And I went to one of their workshop sessions last semester, and I really enjoyed the conversations that were taking place. And this year I signed up for a fellow, and so far I've been really, really enjoying the mentorship that we get, the feedback that you get, the networks that you can make, and by hanging out with like scholars like me. And I think it's come at a very good place in my PhD. I'm in my second year. My project is only evolving right now, and I think I could use all the feedback and the guidance that I get from CURA. So very happy to be here.